First of all, just getting drafted yesterday, your take and just how a dream came true.
It was a lot of fun. Wonderful call, I guess, to get. To be honest, the first way I found out was a group message text from Isaiah. I guess my feed was just a little bit delayed, but it was just an incredible experience to hear my name called on such a big stage like that. First call went straight to Dad, and I can't tell you a more special moment that I've ever shared with some of my family members, and that was just an absolute dream come true, like I said.
A lot of people talk about your turnaround, and that's the biggest part of the story, but at the same point in time, you're just a grinder, flat out. I mean, it kind of speaks to, hey, if you just stay locked in and kind of keep some of the outside forces out, great results come, and that's what's happened.
Right. I think you come to a place like this, you have distractions in ways that you can veer off course, I guess, but you also have wonderful, wonderful people that you're surrounded by, not only young leadership and some of the guys that we have in the clubhouse, but also the coaching staff that just help us keep it, we're just steering us straight. And the kind of people that you kind of see come through this program are not that unlike myself. We got guys that, I just said it earlier, Jack Spiggers is someone that I've looked up to, and someone who reached out to me early on yesterday, and someone that you watch, and if you've seen him play at all, you know he plays the game the right way. And you watch leadership we have on this team now, Isaiah, Kevin Kopps, you just see a bunch of guys just playing with their hearts out and chip on their shoulder and playing the game the right way, and I think that's been big on our success as well.
You reflect on Ole Miss's pitching and the approach you'll have coming into the weekend, because they got a good rotation, obviously, Etheridge, Hoagland, Nikhazy, and then they come in the bullpen with some really strong guys. How much have you thought of that?
I said it before. I think Hoover was a little bit of an eye-opening experience for us.
Welcome in. It's our Friday edition. It's our A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here on KDSJ 479. A real excited edition. Arkansas will be hosting number 12 seed Ole Miss tomorrow in the Super Regionals of the NCAA Men's Baseball Tournament for a trip. Best 2 out of 3 heads to the College World Series. And also, too, we're going to be catching up here shortly with, there's breaking news. Arkansas and Coach Eric Musselman will be getting a visit from the nation's #1 grad transfer prospect, Kerry Blackshear. He's going to be making his way to Arkansas for a visit. We're going to talk to our good buddy, Kevin McPherson of AR Hoop Scoop and Hallville.net. Get all the information on just a lot of things. Demetrius, when you talk about this, and I want to bring in my co-host really quickly before we get this thing rolling. Eric Musselman's already, gotten 5 grad transfers to sign at the University of Arkansas, with a possible 6th in Kerry Blackshear. You look at J.D. Note and also Connor Vanover, 2 of the transfers possibly have to sit out. The ones that you know of that are going to be able to play, Jimmy Witt, Isaiah Moss, and Gentel Saleh. If Kerry Blackshear comes in here, and this is a 6'10", 250-pound young man that was first-team All-ACC. What does this do for that roster in general? I know about a week ago we were talking about one more leaving, but, if you get this guy, Demetrius, this signifies there could be some major turnover, because I believe the coaching staff has until July to really announce the collegiate roster for the upcoming 2019-2020 campaign. But this could be a really big get for Coach Musselman if this young man decides to be a Razorback.
I think with Coach Musselman potentially signing him, I think he's going to be your leader. He's going to be the guy that kind of has the keys to the ship and is going to be the captain for that year. You know, with so much experience, and then coming on top of not only having the experience, having the accolades to go along with it, with being ACC All-American. So I think it's a good look. I think Musselman is really putting Arkansas in a position to compete right away. He's really going to have a lot of expectations with his first year, but I think that's really why he decided to come to Arkansas, to really turn the notch up on. As you can see, he's really been able to do that with the amount of time he's had to recruit. Go ahead.
Shay Evans, a young man out of Philadelphia, also 267, 2024 star. Young man will be taking his official visit starting tomorrow at the University of Arkansas with Coach Musselman and staff. And we have to also make a note, because we're up to updates and breaking news, fresh information. Demetrius, we had a young man on our show yesterday, Xavier Capers out of Denmark High School. At the time, was committed to the University of Arkansas. Since has reopened his commitment. I do think Arkansas will still be involved, but when you look at this, is this a bad thing? I'm of the belief it's not as bad for Coach Morris. I think this is just a young man that's really, since the recruiting process and his commitment to Arkansas, we were saying coming in, I mean, this man has really, really gotten more and more exposed to collegiate programs by just his performance at the camps and what he's able to do. Talk about that. If you're Chad Morris, are you concerned? Or
I'm really not concerned. Just, again, going back to recruiting, if you just look at the wide receiver position, that's probably one of the most heavily populated position that we have on campus right now. I think I've seen a picture with Coach Stepp at his house. They had dinner on Instagram this week, and I maybe seen 20 players just in the wide receiver position. So I think that's really too many for that type of position. I'm more around that 10 to 12 when you're talking about receiver. But I think when you're recruit, it's going to be tough to play receiver here at the University of Arkansas. So I think he also took that in consideration, because when you look at Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, Corlin Jackson, just guys that still have a little time left on their collegiate career, he's not going to come in right away where he potentially could go to a different situation. We knew he took a trip to
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, I
think he was at Auburn yesterday as well.
That's a place where he can play right away. So not only that, sometimes kids that when they see other kids go to Auburn, because I want to say Deion Sanders' son was at Auburn the other day. He took a trip to Alabama the day before and ended up being Auburn. So you never know what relationship these kids have with one another that can persuade them to kind of change ship when it comes to picking their college of choice.
Well, we're going to step away real quick, and it's time to talk a little must bust with our good buddy Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops. So we're going to leave you with, we caught up with senior and future Major League Draft pick Cody Scroggins. He's going to talk NCAA Super Regionals and more, and then we'll be back to talk must bust in the Razorbacks. And the breaking news: Kerry Blackshear, top grad transfer, is on his way to an OV on the Hill. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. And it's the A. Let's get it.
I want to say Coach Johnson probably turned me around. Ever since I knew he was going to be the coach, I was still position play at the time, but I think he kind of turned me around. Just like I really liked what analytics and what was coming around in baseball pitching wise. And I kind of just jumped on board with it and just kind of like took off from there.
You're throwing in high 90s. How do you do that coming off Tommy John surgery?
Really good doctor, Dr. Arnold. He just did an amazing job with my UCL repair, and I took rehab very serious. Every single day, no days off, and honestly, hard work does pay off. So.
What about the composure of Nolan and Whitler as freshman last week?
Amazing. I mean, there's not much you can say about that. Is that those two freshmen are like acting like big leaguers right now. It's amazing for us because we have such a deep bullpen, and to have those freshmen go like 6 or 7 on the weekends against this type of competition is amazing.
You probably only touched on it, but when you saw your name go up on the board, where that is, the Red Sox, what do you think?
Surreal. It was amazing, to be honest. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, you dream of this as a kid. As soon as you start playing baseball, travel ball, I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to get drafted. You want to make it in the majors, and that came true for me yesterday, getting drafted. So it's just been amazing lately.
Anything particular about the Red Sox that you grew up liking a certain team? Or
I like the Red Sox. Me and my grandma, she was a Yankees fan, and I was a Red Sox fan, so we always butt heads back and forth, but she's happy for me.
Like you started out in the starting rotation, and you get hurt, and you come back in the bullpen. Is that tough, or was it easy?
It was kind of easy, I was a bullpen guy last year, so I just kind of glued into that position like I did last year, and just my velo's been up.
Welcome back. It's the A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio as we bring it to you Friday, each and every Friday here on KDSJ 479. But before we get on, let's give a little love to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, and our newest, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. But on to the main thing of the main thing. Arkansas and Eric Musselman will be hosting two very important young men going forward for his program. And we want to bring in the guy that we know knows the 1-4, Kevin McPherson. KP, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Good to be back with you, Pat.
Always good to hear a little must-bust in Arkansas recruiting. But I want to get into some breaking news that you had roughly over about an hour ago. Top grad transfer and former Virginia Tech All-ACC big Kerry Blackshear has decided to take an official visit to Arkansas. Talk about how big this could be at a position of need in year 1 for Eric.
Well, let's look at it in several ways. First of all, this is not something new. It's just popped up on the radar. But Arkansas has been working on getting Kerry Blackshear on campus for over a month. In fact, Arkansas was one of the first schools to get involved. He had his name in the NBA draft pool. He withdrew that last Wednesday, which was the deadline. I mean, just hours before the midnight deadline, he withdrew his name. But a lot of folks and college coaches thought he might be coming back. So Arkansas pursued him. They went out and visited him. Assistant coach Corey Williams went out to see him during that recruiting period, the 4-day recruiting period that ran from April 29th through May 2nd. So that gives you an idea. That's over a month ago. Right. That gives you an idea of how long Arkansas has been involved. They've maintained contact with him. Once he pulled his name from that portal, you're starting to see now some of these college names pop up. He took a visit to Florida yesterday on Thursday. Now he's at Arkansas today. Texas A&M, where Buzz Williams, his coach at Virginia Tech, is now the new head coach, might get a visit. He's also considered Kentucky, although Kentucky's brought back a couple of big men who also withdrew from that draft pool. So that's interesting to see if he, if that's going to create a problem with him in Kentucky. Also, maybe looking at Tennessee and Gonzaga, and also the possibility of staying at Virginia Tech. And you know what, Pat? Nothing would shock me. Let's say that he decides he does want to be a pro. Even if he can't be back in that draft pool, he could, play overseas, or maybe even, put his name out there for the G League or something like that. So I think with Blackshear, he wants to be a pro. If he definitely is coming back to college, Arkansas would be a great spot for him, because let's face it, Musselman and his staff that he's assembled all have pro backgrounds in various levels and know how to deliver guys to that next level, which is the NBA. That's the goal. So I know I'm saying a lot here to answer your question, but Kerry Blackshear is on campus in Fayetteville visiting the Hogs, and this could be big, because we can talk about this too. I'll give you a chance to ask a question, but let's talk about also Arkansas's recent tradition of putting all SEC big men on the floor. Absolutely. That looked like it might come to a halt, and now maybe not.
And that's what I also want to piggyback on. Say Kerry does choose the University of Arkansas, and we're sitting here roughly about 3 weeks ago, and we hear comments from Eric and staff about that we may not have the big, so we're going to have to really team rebound. You throw a guy like Kerry Blackshear in at 6'10", 250, a guy that's done it in one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in college basketball for the duration of 3 to 4 years. To go along with what they have on this team and the grad transfers that they brought in, this could be a very, very solid basketball team in a matter of moments if this big fella decides that, like you said, he wants to spend his remaining year on the Hill.
Well, let's look at it this way. Things change. They'll change dramatically for Arkansas. And let's go back to last year. They were the youngest team in college basketball. Right. You lose Daniel Gafford, your best player, all SEC first team, all SEC defense, to the NBA draft. And now you're starting to scratch your head, and it's puzzling. But you look at the pieces now. 5 transfers so far. If you add Blackshear, that's a 6th. 4 of those are grad transfers. This guy's the immediate starter at center. Probably projected all SEC out of the gates, and we know the SEC is a really good conference now. You look at Isaiah Joe, you look at some of these other pieces. I think Arkansas, if they pick up this piece, has an argument to be a preseason top 25. That may sound crazy,
Right.
but I would not put it past Musselman the way he's won, even in Nevada, mid-major conference. But he took Nevada and made that basically a top 20 program in the last couple of years, and that's not easy to do. But I have all the faith that if he can bring in a Blackshear, that Arkansas is going to be in that conversation for a top 25 team going into next season. Which
leads me to the next initial topic. He's got another big-time 2020 young man that's going to be making his way to Fayetteville for an official visit this weekend, and Shea Evans. Talk about, the brand and the impact that they're starting to have in that rising senior class that you're seeing from the young men that you're talking to, and also too, Kevin, in the 21 class as well.
Yep. So real quick on Shea Evans, he was planning on visiting Arkansas this weekend. He just announced just recently put the brakes on that for this weekend. I think he's going to try to get up in the next couple of weekends, though. Something came up and he couldn't get here this weekend. But you're right. He's a guy that, top 100 according to Rivals.com's got him rated the 77th best player in that 2020 class. 6'6" wing out of Maryland, playing his final season at Newman Goretti High School up there in Philadelphia, but 6'6" guy with a lot of offensive skill, especially shooting skill, kind of a smooth operator. But a guy that put Arkansas in his Final 7 along with Florida, Texas Tech, Ohio State, San Diego State, Boise State, and TCU. So, you start talking about, you asked about 2021. You look at 2020 and 2021, Arkansas's got over, they're reached double figures now in offense. They've extended to 5 stars.
Right.
Then you could add another 10 to high-level 4 stars, everywhere from bigs to forwards to guards. I really think you're seeing a wide net cast as Musselman tries to stamp Arkansas as a national program, recruiting at a national level from coast to coast. Will be interesting to see who all they do get on campus, Pat, and who they can get signed and on board.
Well, as always, Kev, love having you on. We'll continue to talk. I know you got a lot of work that you have to get to because in recruiting, it's a year-round. It's 24 hours a day, and it just never stops. But thanks for taking time out here on the Hill, my man.
Good to be with you, Pat. Thank you.
That was Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hogville.net. Does a great job covering Razorback basketball recruiting and a really good job throughout the state with all the high school boys and girls talent throughout this state. Kevin, nobody works harder than this guy, and it's always a privilege and a pleasure to have him join us. But on to my guy Demetrius before we close this thing out for the weekend. Kerry Blackshear called highlights. Think about it. This big commitment, if he does choose Arkansas, Demetrius, it could change the way Arkansas is viewed in the SEC for the 2019-20 season. Because, that's the biggest question. Who's going to be the 5 or 4 that's really going to be someone Arkansas can call their go-to guy? Kerry could be that. Musselman's the real deal, in my opinion. What you think?
Yeah, I think he has some pieces that are starting to come together because I think just the presence of Isaiah Joe and him having that dagger 3 is really going to open up both of their games, because you're going to have to respect that inside game, and you're going to have to respect that deep shooting ability, and Blackshear can step out and shoot the 3. So it's going to be Arkansas can be something dangerous if they really get this piece. I think they can really, Musselman talked about making the NCAA tournament his first year and returning the Hogs back there. But I think if they can really get Blackshear, they really have a good probability of going.
I'm just been impressed by some of the parents of these young men that Coach Musk, Crutchfield, Williams have been able to reach out to. I really think that the fact that all 4 of these young men have NBA connections, either recruiting high school kids that move on, such as Crutchfield, or being a player like Corey Williams, or a longtime assistant coach and head coach such as Coach Musk and Coach Clay. It's going to boil down to being able to, have the relationships. And I don't care what people say, but there's no bigger pool of relationships that when you're in the NBA or you have overseas experience. I mean, the people and the parents that have great basketball players, you just don't understand the endless amounts of contacts that these coaches have. And you can kind of see it as in evidence with Coach Corey Williams being able to reach out to a Kerry Blackshear. Well, that's during his time and his knowledge of Kerry during the ACC days as a Florida State assistant. And then you look at Shea Evans, a young man that's supposed to be here, as was reported, but's pushed it back. That's the relationship that his family has with Coach Eric Musselman. And so there just seems to be a lot of connections with this staff, not only regionally, but on the national scene. And that's where I think this program is really on the upward trend. And the same thing as well, Demetrius, with the football program and Coach Neighbors and just multiple programs. I continue to say it, and I know it sounds like I'm a broken record, but the energy and the ability to connect with this generation's teenager and potential recruit that these coaches are able to do, I think I hadn't seen that in a while. Maybe you've never seen it, come close, seen it in certain programs, but not as a whole overall program here in Fayetteville. And it's really impressive to see, in my opinion. But before we get out of here, we want to talk about Arkansas. Tomorrow we'll be hosting the first game in the men's super regional of the NCAA tournament versus Ole Miss. And first pitch is 11 a.m. You can catch that game on ESPN. I believe starting pitcher will be Isaiah Campbell. Which way you going, Demetrius? First in game one and then two for the overall series. Who will we be talking about when we reconvene on Monday? Having moved on in the Fayetteville Regional.
Hopefully the Hogs. Of course I want to see the Hogs continue, but this is going to be a tough one,
It's going to be real tough. I think Arkansas with the pitching, they're going to have steady pitching. Bullpen's going to have to really step it up. But really the most important thing to me is they're going to have to hit the ball. Didn't think in the SEC tournament their offensive numbers. Now, mind you, Ole Miss to me is probably the best top to bottom offensive team in the league. I know people look over and say, well, there's Vanderbilt. Yeah, but there's a lot of experience on this baseball team. And with the confidence of knowing that you did come early in the year and win the series, that's going to make it even harder. But I'm like you, Demetrius. I'm going to take Dave Van Horn and the Razorbacks and their number 5 seed to move on, take it to Monday. I think we'll be having a game on Monday. The deciding game, but I think Arkansas is going to get it and move on. So I'm going to go Arkansas 2-1. They win the regional and get back to try to finish what they came so close to finishing last year. But that's going to do it for us here. I want to give a thank you to our guest, Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hogville.net for coming on and talk about the breaking news. Kerry Blackshear, former Virginia Tech big top grad transfer, as we know it, and is on campus for his official visit to Arkansas. We'll continue to monitor that as the weekend progresses on. I want to give a thank you to my producer, Demetrius Johnson, Demigod, but here, Spike D on OTH. And to you all, our listeners, and lastly, our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office in Fayetteville and office also too in Rogers. Locomotion, just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, and our newest sponsor, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Until Monday, it's on the hill, and it's the A. You guys have a blessed one. Let's get it.
Hey everyone, it's Pat Jenkins here of OTH. That's right, on the hill with Pat Jenkins, Sports Talk Radio. We come to you each and every day here, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 2 on KDSJ 479. Be sure and tune in if you want to hear about SEC and the Arkansas Razorbacks. It's OTA. Holla.